first, before I start, hand it over to Yola, who's going to give us some inspirational remarks. So Yola, please, the floor is yours.
Kenya. Okay, thank you. Kenya, 100,000 affected, 36,000 displaced, 29 deaths. Nigeria, 18,000 affected, 5,000 displaced, 12 deaths. Cameroon, 25,000 affected, 40 deaths. South Sudan, 1 million affected. In the month of October 2019, these are just a few worst floods in Africa that I and the world need to mourn. My name is Olam Kokwana. I'm 12 years old. I live in Khayelitsha, Western Cape, South Africa. Khayelitsha is a working class township just outside Cape Town. I joined Earth Child Project at my school as an extramural activity. At the time, I had no idea that my life depended on it. In the last year, I have learned about the global warming crisis, living sustainably, and how to present a human rights charter to the president. Something I'm sure every person in this room remembers doing before they were 13. 3 times this year, I have marched to Parliament with school children all over the world to demand climate justice. The range of ages, skin colors, genders, and nationalities that surrounded me was empowering. But despite our hoarse voices and tired feet, I knew that my fight was not over. As a child of color, I realized that I have a mission before I get to high school. I must make sure that climate change is recognized as being more than disappearing species and fossil fuels. I hear the great environmental activists of the world speak about how my generation will face water and food insecurity, poverty, disease, and increase in violence against women and children. First, I became fearful, but then I became angry. I'm already living in this future that others fear. I stay in an informal settlement with my family and share one communal tap with 55 families. I fear going to the bathroom at night because of the distance. It's dangerous and not safe. There are large numbers of people in Khayelitsha who don't have enough to eat. We do not have enough water supply. I see violence against women and children everywhere. From what I hear, Kibera in this city faces the same realities. Climate change affects poor people worse than the rich one. If my current life is the worst case scenario for so many, what does my future hold? What happens to my community in the townships? What happens to others like me? I am tired of others speaking up about coming with solutions. The solutions are there. All you need to do is to stop talking and put them into action. I call on the youth of Nairobi and the rest of the continent to stop believing that things will get in schools. As parts of this world, you have already failed us, but it's time to give up. We can still teach you because no matter how little you have, courage is free. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yola. That's very inspiring. I'm going to leave the stage now. So please carry on. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Minister, and thank you again, Yola, for those remarks, which are both inspirational, but they're also a call for action. They're also, for us, an opportunity to re-emphasize, to recommit to what we know needs to happen now. We're all facing climate change as the most significant change. So I'm going to have a seat with my colleagues so we can have a conversation. Our plan is to start with a conversation with the first panel, and we'll move over to the second panel, and depending on how we end up, we might be able to take some questions from the floor. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, colleagues. Are you okay sitting there, Minister? Okay.
I'm fine.
All right.
If you
All
want
right.
to move me, I will move, but I'm very...
I like you closer. No,
I'll
it's
move one over, except I think the microphone is
No, the
already
microphone might be a
connected.
problem. No, but thank you so very much, and I have the pleasure of welcoming each of our panelists here today, starting with His Excellency the Minister of Health, John Paul Adam, who comes to us from Seychelles, from the island of Seychelles, and is been working on climate change now for more than 10 or so years. Both as the Minister of Foreign Affairs, but also as the Minister of Finance, and has worked on many projects. Here's my question for you as we start this panel. What are the unique vulnerabilities to climate change of small island developing states, and how are you responding to the threat of climate change, especially considering the health of your population now and in the future?
Thank you very much, and I'm very much delighted to be here. I present the apologies of my president, Danny Faure, who unfortunately, due to the fact that he had to take a plane a bit close to this event, wasn't able to make it work. But I'm very delighted to be able to speak on his behalf. One of his key messages that he made in the commitments that Seychelles has made to this summit has been that we must always ensure that no one is left behind. So the commitment is really about making sure that everybody has the chance to have the best development that is possible. So in terms of the vulnerabilities of small island states, such as Seychelles, we're a very small country. We have less than 100,000 population.